Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. So this episode is going to be fun. It's going to be different. I got this idea from YouTube. So I was watching YouTube and a video by Alex Hormozi, who is a business owner. He's an investor, and he is really good at helping people really make money and learn more about money. And he had a video titled 28 Ways to Stay Poor. And of course, I had to watch that video. And it was so brilliant. And he said that he got the idea from someone named Charlie Munger. Now, for those of you who do not know who Charlie Munger is, he was Warren Buffett's right-hand man, and he recently passed away, but he was known for his brilliant mind and how he solved problems. And he used something called inversion thinking, which means that you solve problems in reverse. And he actually credits a German mathematician, I don't know his name, for, him being able to solve problems this way. And so one of the things he did, he created this talk called How to Live a Miserable Life. And of course, the talk was not really about how to live a miserable life. It was about how to live a happy life. But the way you can really solve the problem of how to live a happy life is by figuring out what you need to do to live a miserable life and then actually doing the opposite. So you list all the things that you can do to live a miserable life and then do the opposite in order to live a happy life. And Alex gave the example in his video of, if you want to have a better marriage, a great way to figure out how to do that is to write a list of all the things you can do to destroy your marriage and then do the opposite. Now, this works because our brains are programmed to scan the environment for problems and threats. Like that is our brain's jam. If you think about back in the day, our ancestors were living in caves and they were always on the lookout for problems and threats. So we can easily find those. But sometimes it's hard for us to find solutions. So this is kind of a hack to doing that. So you find the problems and then do the opposite for the solution. This podcast is going to do that today. I'm going to share with you 13 ways to be broke or 13 ways to avoid building wealth. Now, before I do that, I want to take a moment to simply invite you to join me inside of my signature money coaching program, the Wealthy Woman's Academy. This is a program for anyone who wants to go from where you are financially to an entirely different place within 1 year. So no matter where you are, if you are overspending, if you are not saving, if you are in debt cycles where you're constantly find yourself in credit card debt, if you are not able to invest, if you're just feeling undisciplined and out of control with your money, you are invited to join me inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy, where we will spend an entire year working on your money. You will have me as your mentor, as your coach, and we will work on your specific issues and get you to an entirely different place in just 1 year. Because you've been living this way for decades and you need time and space in order to change that. Now, if you want to just learn more about the Wealthy Woman's Academy, or if you're like, no, I'm ready to join, then simply go to www.jermainefoley.com/WWA. Again, that's Jermaine Foley with a G.com/WWA, or you can simply go to the show notes and click on the link and read all about it. It's a webpage dedicated to the Wealthy Woman's Academy, and I would love, love, love to have you inside. Okay, so now let's get to the 13 ways to avoid building wealth or the 13 ways to be broke. Number 1, start tomorrow. So this was the first one that Alex gave on his too, and it's so true. If you have an idea or a nudge to do something, and if you want to be broke, then start tomorrow. Just put it off until tomorrow. And this is why this works. It works because there's something called the law of diminishing intent, which says the longer you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you'll never actually do it. And this concept was created by John Rohn. And he talks about how when we are first inspired to do something, like maybe joining the Wealthy Woman's Academy, or to invest or to save or whatever you are inspired to do, when we first have the idea, that's when our motivation is the highest. But the longer we wait, our intent and our motivation actually diminishes, and we literally prevent ourselves from doing the thing that we know we should do. So if you want to be broke, start tomorrow. Number 2, listen to lots of podcasts and read lots of books and do nothing. Here's the thing. Our brains are totally fine with you consuming lots of information, but it doesn't want you to take action on that information, because when you start taking action on that information, that's when your brain is like, okay, we're stepping outside our comfort zone. We're stepping outside of the familiar, and we don't want to do that. But the truth is you actually do. But if you don't want to build wealth, if you do want to stay broke, then go ahead and listen to lots of podcasts and read lots of books, but do nothing with them. Number 3, fail once and then give up. Don't use your failures as a learning opportunity. Use them as a way to beat yourself up, right? If you want to be broke, then that's what you do. You don't learn from your mistake. You tell yourself it was a stupid idea. You tell yourself that you're not good enough. You tell yourself that you're just bad with money. If you want to be broke, do that instead of learning from your mistakes, instead of trying again, instead of giving yourself grace. Number 4, play the victim. Now, here's the thing. We as women have so many narratives thrown at us about who we are, what we're capable of, how much money we can make, if we're good at handling money, if we spend too much, if we're out of control with our shopping, all the things, right? We hear all of those narratives. There are narratives around the wealth gap that is saying that, African Americans have less wealth than Caucasians and Hispanics have less wealth than Caucasians. And then there's the gender gap, which states that men make more than women. We make a certain percentage of what a man makes. And all of those things can be true in the world, and we can let those things defeat us. We can let those disparities discourage us, or we can play the game. We can just understand that life isn't fair and we're just here to play the game, and we are not worried about what society says, but we are just focused on becoming wealthy. We are focused on growing. We are focused on living our best lives. But you can't do that if you're playing the victim to all of these disparities and to all these things that society hands us. So if you want to be broke, just go ahead and play the victim. Number 5, if you want to be broke, stay in your comfort zone. Don't set financial goals. Don't learn new things. Avoid discomfort. Stay the same and don't grow. That's exactly what you need to do if you want to be broke and if you want to avoid building wealth. Stay in your comfort zone. Number 6, wait for the perfect time and the perfect conditions before you start doing something. So if you want to be broke, if you want to avoid building wealth, wait for the perfect time and the perfect conditions, which do not exist. This was actually one that Alex gave in his YouTube video, and I think it's so true because we let our primitive brains talk us out of it. I'll start saving tomorrow. I'll start investing tomorrow. I'll join the Wealthy Woman's Academy tomorrow. I'll pay extra on my debt tomorrow. We're always putting it off, or we're always telling ourselves, when I have time. Like, you're never going to have more time. We always have the exact same amount of time every single day, every single week, every single year. You will never, ever have more time. Now, the trick is to learn how to use your time effectively, because it is your most precious resource. It is the only resource that we have that is not renewable. So it's so important that you actually manage your time versus telling yourself that you're going to wait until you have more time or until conditions are perfect. And remember, perfection is a fallacy, is not real. So if you want to be broke and you want to avoid building wealth, wait for the perfect time and the perfect conditions. Number 7, prioritize looking rich versus actually being rich. This is a big one. Now, you already know that I believe that you can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. But the key word here is prioritize looking rich versus actually being rich. We don't want to do that. We want to prioritize being rich, right? And so if you want to stay or be broke, and if you want to avoid building wealth, then prioritize wearing fancy handbags over actually having money. Prioritize driving fancy cars versus actually building wealth. Prioritize all the exterior materialistic things in life versus actually having money. Do that if you want to be broke versus building wealth. Number 8, make a mistake and keep doing it over and over and over and over again. That is the definition of insanity. So if you want to be broke, make sure you do that. I'm going to give you a quick story of how I learned this lesson big time. So I met a lady, this was a while ago, who had found this investment. And it was one of those investments that seemed too good to be true. But I trusted her, of course, and I saw her documentation of this investment. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to try it. And I made a pact with myself that I will only put money in there that I will be fine with losing, because it was unconventional. It was new, right? It was something that I was just learning about. So I put some money in that investment, and guess what happened? It went belly up. Who knows where the money is at this point, right? It dried up. And so I then made a mental note in my brain. It is carved in it. Do not do that again, right? Do not. Next time somebody comes to you with this thing, this opportunity that looks too good to be true, and they show you the receipts, still say no. Stay with what you know. Stay with the tried and true S&P 500 index funds that you have researched, that have a long track record, that returns a consistent return on your investment. Do what you know. Do what's tried and true. So this was my way of not being broke, because I did make a mistake, but I decided that I wasn't going to do it over and over again. Now, some people that did the same thing I did, they're looking for the next opportunity. They're like, okay, on to the next. This one didn't work out, on to the next. Don't do that. Make a mistake and learn from it. But if you want to be broke, make a mistake and keep doing it over and over and over again. Number 9, make lots of money and spend more than you make. And here's the cool thing about this. Alex had this one on his too. And he mentioned this, and I'm going to share it with you, that you can do this at any income level. Think about it. Like, you can be making $30,000 a year and spending more than you make, and you can be making $30 million a year and spending more than you make, right? This is available to anyone at any income level. And the way you do this is by lifestyle creep. So if you get a $20,000 increase in your income and you raise your lifestyle by $20,000 or more, or $25,000, then you will definitely spend more than you make, right? So you want to make sure that you are not increasing your lifestyle to the point of your income increase. Of course, you can increase your lifestyle some. So let's say you did get a $20,000 raise or a $20,000 windfall or something. Spend some of it, a portion, a percentage on lifestyle, but build wealth with the rest. Don't overdo it. Don't spend more than you make. If you do that, you will be broke. You will avoid building wealth. So let's not do that. Unless you do want to be broke, then do it. Number 10, prioritize spending over saving. So if you want to be broke, prioritize spending over savings. If you want to avoid building wealth, prioritize spending over savings. Here's the thing. You need money in order to build wealth. If you spend everything you make or prioritize spending over saving, then guess what? You will not build wealth. Now, here's what I'm going to say. One way that most people prioritize spending over saving is that they save and invest what's left over. But what if you flipped it and decided ahead of time, this is how much I'm saving, and decided ahead of time, this is how much I'm investing, and then decide how much you're going to spend. That will change your life. But if you want to be broke, don't do that. Just prioritize spending over saving. Number 11, put off investing because of fear or lack of knowledge. I did an entire podcast on this. So if you want to be broke, don't do what this podcast tells you to do. But that was podcast number 30, which was all about adopting an investor's mindset. Here's the thing about investing. It can be daunting and scary if you are not knowledgeable. So what do? Get some knowledge so that you know the game that you're playing. Understand it. Once you start to understand, then the fear will go away. Then you will be able to take some steps outside your comfort zone and actually get started. So in episode number 30, I talk about the fact that the market goes up and the market goes down. And to go in expecting that. And go in with a long-term strategy, which means that you can afford for the market to go down because track records show us that it's going to go back up again. But if you are trading instead of investing and you need the money, then you're going to lose out. So I gave you lots and lots of ideas in episode number 30 around how to adopt that investor's mindset, how to let go of the fear, what to expect going in so that you are equipped and you understand what you're getting into and you know how to play the game because it's a strategy to it. This is not something that you're going to get in and get out. This is a long-term game. This is a long-term strategy. And if you are knowledgeable, then you can play the game and you can win at the game. But if you want to be broke and if you want to avoid building wealth, then don't learn it. Just let fear keep you out of the market and keep you in a place where you're not comfortable with investing. Number 12, pay the minimum on your credit cards. This is a big one. If you want to be broke and if you want to avoid building wealth, then make sure you only pay the minimum on your credit cards. Run them up and only pay the minimum. Typically, when you pay the minimum, you are only paying about 2% of your balance. And that's how credit card companies make their money. They make money on your balance. Whatever is left over that month, they charge you interest on that amount. So if you're only paying 2% of your balance, then you're getting charged interest on a big chunk of money and the banks are getting rich instead of you. I want you to think about it this way. You are literally giving money away to the bank that handles your credit card when you just pay interest every month on the balances. That's it. You're just giving the money. You're just making them rich instead of making yourself rich. So if you want to be broke or if you want to avoid building wealth, then pay the minimums on your credit cards. Number 13, and this is a big one. If you want to be broke or avoid building wealth, avoid your money. Stop paying attention to it. Don't look at it. Just ignore it. Keep your head in the sand. Don't face reality and don't pay attention to your money. And this is why this will keep you broke. It's because what you pay attention to actually expands. So when you pay attention to your money, you actually grow it. You actually take care of it. You actually make good decisions with it. But when you ignore it, whatever you ignore, that disappears, right? Think about a real relationship. If you have a friend and you ignore that friend, what's going to happen to that relationship? It's going to go away. But if you pay attention to that friendship, if you nourish it, if you're intimately involved with that person's life and you care about that person and you take care of that person when they need help and when they're sick, that relationship, that friendship will expand. It will grow. It will stay around. It's the same thing with your money. When you ignore your money, it literally disappears. That's why so many people say they don't know where all their money goes because they're not paying attention to it. I never use that phrase anymore, that I don't know where my money goes, because I know exactly where it goes because I pay attention to it and I tell it where to go. That's how I know where it's at all times. So now you have the 13 things you should do if you want to be broke and if you want to avoid building wealth. So I am now going to rapid fire the opposite of those things. So if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be rich, if you want to have lots of money, here are the 13 things you should do. Number 1, start today. If you have the idea to join me inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy, Start today. Go to www.jermainefoley.com/WWA to learn all about it, or go to the show notes. Number 2, listen to podcasts and read books and actually implement what you learn. Number 3, fail once, learn, pivot, and try again. Don't quit. Number 4, take 100% responsibility for your financial life and for your life in general. Don't play the victim. Number 5, step outside your comfort zone. And the first thing you can do to expand your financial comfort zone is to set some financial goals and get to work towards them. Number 6, start now. No matter the conditions, you can figure it out. Marie Forleo says everything is figure-outable. But when we wait, the law of diminishing intent comes into play, and the likelihood of you ever doing the thing you want to do disappears. Number 7, prioritize actually being rich versus looking rich. That doesn't mean you can't have nice things, but our priorities are now switched. We're going to prioritize actually having money and building wealth and being rich versus looking the part. Number 8, learn from mistakes and do something different next time. Remember my story about the investment. Do something different next time. I'm not going to do that again. Number 9, make lots of money, because that's what we do around here. Make lots of money and spend less than you make. It doesn't mean you're not going to spend on things that are important to you. And that's one of the things we work on in the Wealthy Woman's Academy, is getting clear on the things that are truly, truly important to you and spending our money on those things and not spending on things that are not important to us. Number 10, prioritize saving over spending. Again, we're going to do both, but we're going to prioritize our saving. And how do we do that? We save and invest first, and we spend what's left versus spending and then trying to just save and invest what's left. Number 11, start investing. Now, if you're afraid or you don't have enough knowledge, get educated, but don't let that stop you. Don't let that be an excuse. You can get started with the education with episode number 30. And better yet, join me inside the Wealthy Woman's Academy, and I will help you to become a savvy investor. I'm not a financial advisor, so I will not show you or tell you which specific investments to put your money in, but I will be your guide. I will be your mentor. I will help you figure it out. Number 12, pay extra on your credit cards in a strategic way. I love the debt snowball. And if you are constantly in a debt cycle where you're putting everything on your credit cards, you're constantly running up your credit cards, you pay them off, then you're back in it again, then the Wealthy Woman's Academy is a great place for you as well, because we work on that for sure. Number 13, get to know your money intimately. Know your net worth. Know how much you have in savings. Know how much you have in investments. Know what your income is. Know what your dreams and goals and aspirations are, and know how much debt you have. If you want to be wealthy, this is what you need to do. Get to know your money intimately and stop avoiding it. I hope this podcast was helpful. You now know exactly what to do to be broke and to avoid building wealth. Now, if that's not what you want, then do the opposite. Do the opposite. Do the opposite. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to jermainefoley.com/WWA. That's Jermaine with a G. See you over there. Bye-bye.